Alright everyone, Sparta123. I want to do a quick video talking about the Blackhawk Omnivore holster. There's a bunch of things out there saying on some of the modifications that you can do with this holster. I just kind of revealed what you're going to see in the title anyway, so I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to get straight to the point and cover what I actually did to this holster. And then I'll get into kind of like the why you would want to do this or consider doing this afterwards. Because if you already have one of these, or you're thinking about getting one of these, and you clicked on this video, then you probably have the same thought process. So anyway, the first thing I did was do a little bit of dremeling action on the inside there. You can see the abrasive part right there. That's that way this can take a Surefire X300A or B model. So I actually have a Smith & Wesson 22. This is a full-size 22 with a Surefire X300 UB on it. And I'm going to do my best to do this with one hand. Give me 1 second. And you can see that it actually locks in there. There's some comments on an Amazon video, basically, or excuse me, Amazon review, talking about how much you have to trim away from the holster in order for this to work. And you basically want to take off about maybe half an inch or an inch off of the little ridge that's raised on the inside there. Not the main ridge at the top there, but there's a little small ridge that's right beneath it. And you can probably see it in there. If you guys have any questions on that, or you want more information, there's, like I said, there's an Amazon review for this, that actually details what that gentleman did. And it's basically, enough trial and error, basically taking off enough material so that way the screw has enough tension, or clearance to sit in there. You only have to do the one side, you don't have to do the other side, and it'll fit right in there. The second thing, as you kind of saw in the beginning, is the Safariland QLS mount. As you can see, I had to widen both this hole here as well as this hole, and you can see that I raised it just ever so slightly, and I had to drop this hole down a bit as well. And you'll notice that this is actually not the standard hole that you would use for your Safariland accessories. This is the the one above the standard one. The standard one is here. But basically what you have to do is trim away these little like gates or walls, if you will, and make a hole. And you want to do it in 2 levels, and I wish I took this off, but you're going to have to take my word for it and figure it out basically. But you're basically trying to mimic this. You're just creating the clearance, so you're going to use a Dremel to take the hole down to around the center point of the screw. And then around this area, you're only going to go as deep as the factory location. That way the screw has something to bite into. In addition to something that I kind of figured out after the fact, I added some washers to this. This isn't, you don't have to do this necessarily. There's an alternative, or a couple of different alternatives that you can do to this. The section on a Safariland female portion of a holster or QLS system, this ridge here, these little ridges, are going to rub up ever so slightly against, let me see if I can get a good angle on this little ridge on the inside here, not this one, but the one on the inside right there. They're going to rub up ever so slightly to allow this to not fully be able to seat. So one of the options you can do is you can go ahead and get some washers and put them in there. That way it gives you, that little bit of standoff, and it's not much. It really isn't much, but it's all the standoff you need to get that extra clearance. The other thing you could do is you could shave the actual back plate of the holster, or you can actually shave the ribs on your mount. However, I didn't want to do that because I have more than one Safariland mount, and that would require modification to every single Safariland system that I want to run, and that was just a no-go for me. So the solution right now I'm using is just some washers. I do have the Safariland little spacer thing, but I didn't want to use it because it would have offset it off the side of my body more than I would have liked to. And as you can see, I have, like I said, a few different Safariland mounts, and if you guys are ever familiar with the QLS system, it mounts on everything. You know, this is the same interface, so all of these different setups that holster will mount to, in addition to all of your normal Safariland holsters with the QLS system. So that basically covers the modifications that I did. Now let's talk about some of the why. Now, I have, you know, the Smith & Wesson MP22. I don't have the regular Smith & Wesson, but I do also have Glock 19, you know, comped and red dot out and all that stuff. So I do run a Safariland 6354DO, which is actually for Glock 34, but this is the same length, so it works. You guys are probably thoroughly familiar with that setup. The reason I got into this setup that I'm trying out, like, this is definitely in an inception phase. I've only used it maybe a couple times, so I don't completely trust it yet. But I wanted to have the ALS type retention mechanism, or at least the way to defeat the mechanism is similar to an ALS. As you can see here, I have the 6354 with the nub mod, and it integrates with the or interfaces with the ejection port on a Glock or whatever pistol that you have your ALS holster made for. The downside is Safariland doesn't make an ALS holster for every single type of firearm out there, and I really like the ALS design. It's very intuitive and very quick to defeat, and you still get a level 2 active retention. So I wanted something that I can still have that ALS level 2 type retention, or at least a similar defeating or mechanism to defeat it, in addition to housing a Surefire X300. The plus is this holster, if you're not familiar with it, actually interfaces off of the light or the little attachment that they give you with the holster that you put on the rail. So that means is any gun, or just about any gun, there's like 150 of them, that you have an X300U on, or that little rail attachment, will actually lock into this holster, and you'll have active level 2-ish retention. I say ish because level 2 is actually a Safariland term, so you know, look into that. There's actually a specific rating behind it, but it is actual active retention. You do have to physically defeat this mechanism to remove the firearm from the holster. Yeah, so I mean, so what this is going to do, I can now run an M&P, I can run the Glock, and as you can see, it's pretty low cut, so the Glock will sit in here with the comp, with the red dot, with the X300, and it will lock into place, and you will have active retention. So now I can run any double stack gun that can take an X300. This holster is made for an X300UA. You have to do that little modification that I talked about on the inside, shaving it with a Dremel to get it to work with a B model. Once you do, it locks up just the same way it would with an A model, and you'll be pretty squared away with that. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and reach out in the comment section below. Like I said, this mounts to, you know, any one of these Safariland accessories and mounts and all this jazz, you know, just to give you that extra flexibility. I'm typically a Safariland or die kind of guy. You know, like I usually don't like to stray from them because their stuff is usually bomb proof. Before I actually end the video, you do get pretty decent activation with the threads, or you get a decent bit of the threads actually biting into the female portion of it. So I'm going to try this out and see how it is, and if anything, I'll update the comments if you guys are even interested on this. And yeah, hopefully this gives you another option. This holster retails for around $40. With the QLS, it's about $15 on Amazon right now. So, you know, you got a grand total level 2 retention that fits 150 different guns, light bearing, I might add, or optic. It doesn't matter, for $55. So, I mean, you can't really beat that. We'll see if it lasts. I'm going to take classes with it. I'm going to go ahead and practice with it as well, because there's a difference between training and practice. Look up the definition for yourself. But this is Sparta123, Omnivore from Blackhawk, and Safariland QLS. Signing out.